Hi, welcome to Feed Your Soul. I am Melinda, and this is our series on our Torah study. This is designed to help believers in Jesus get a better and deeper understanding of our faith and the foundations of all of the teachings. All of the New Testament is built upon these first five books of the Bible: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. So the idea is to go deep so we can better understand our Creator and our place in His kingdom. So I'm glad you're here. This week, the portion's name comes from the very first significant words in the line of that portion, and it's generations. These are the generations of Isaac, and it's Toldot. Here on your screen, you see Rebekah and Isaac and their children. If you were with us last week, we kind of touched on some of what we're going to cover this week. There's this whole convoluted story between these twins, and really maybe started a conflict, or we see the remnants of that conflict even today. So we're going to talk about all that. We're in Genesis 25:19 through 28, verse 9. We're going to look at the book of Obadiah, probably not the whole book. It's only one chapter long, the book of Obadiah. So we're going to look at some verses from there, Psalm 83, and then Hebrews 7, the second half of that chapter. We're going to pick up where we left off when we were talking about Melchizedek from a few weeks ago. So we are going to look at lineages and priesthoods and blessings. And to get some of this backstory, we're also going to look at the book of Jubilees, which is an extra biblical book, which is in at least one group of Christians canon, the Ethiopian Christians, but has been utilized as a sacred scripture for thousands of years, and has some really edifying information in it. So if you've never read the book of Jubilees, there's all kinds of ways you can get access to it. There's even a free PDF version online. So I will link that in the description, and we can get started with Genesis 25. These are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham fathered Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean of Padan Aram, the sister of Laban, the Aramean, to be his wife. And Isaac prayed to the Lord for his wife because she was barren. And the Lord granted his prayer, and Rebekah, his wife, conceived. The children struggled together within her, and she said, "If it is thus, why is this happening to me?" So she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said to her, "Two nations are in your womb, and two peoples from within you shall be divided. The one shall be stronger than the other. The older shall serve the younger." When her days to give birth were completed, behold, there were twins in her womb. The first came out red, all his body like a hairy cloak. So they called his name Esau. Afterward, his brother came out with his hand holding Esau's heel. So his name was called Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when she bore them. Okay. So here's the family, right? We have Jacob and Esau. Jacob's the one there with no hair. Jacob's name sounds something like holding one's heel, holding on to. And Esau sounds something like red, apparently. Red, hairy, actually. Esau gets a kind of nickname Edom later, which is what means red. So you have these two brothers, their parents, and what you don't see in the text is that Abraham is still alive. Okay, so they have their grandfather, everyone's living together. So let's see what happens next. When the boys grew up, Esau was a skillful hunter, a man of the field, while Jacob was a quiet man dwelling in tents. Isaac loved Esau because he ate of his game, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Once, when Jacob was cooking stew, Esau came in from the field, and he was exhausted. And Esau said to Jacob, "Let me eat some of that red stew, for I am exhausted." Therefore, his name was called Edom. Jacob said, "Sell me your birthright now." Esau said, "I am about to die. Of what use is this birthright to me?" Jacob said, "Swear it to me now." So he swore to him and sold his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and lentil stew, and he ate and drank and arose and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. So it seems a little bit drastic over a bowl of stew, right? And we don't get a whole lot more details on what's going on with Esau. So in the book of Jubilees, there is so much backstory on what is going on here. From what's going on with Abraham, Rebekah, and Jacob, what Abraham is seeing in both of the boys, what Abraham is seeing that might be a little lacking in Isaac. Abraham doesn't think Isaac is noticing the heart differences between the boys. So this is where Jubilees comes in and fills in some of those gaps. It's really fascinating. So here is an excerpt from Jubilees 19. And Jacob had no beard and was a straight and tall man who dwelt in tents. And Esau was a powerful man of the field and was hairy. The youths grew, and Jacob learned to write. But Esau did not learn to write, for he was a man of the field and a hunter. And he learned war, and all his deeds were fierce. Abraham loved Jacob, but Isaac loved Esau. And Abraham saw the deeds of Esau and knew that in Jacob should his name and offspring be called. He called Rebekah and gave commandment regarding Jacob, for he knew that she too loved Jacob much more than Esau. He said to her, "Daughter, watch over my son Jacob, for he shall take my place on the earth. He shall be a blessing throughout the children of men, and for the glory of all the offspring of Shem. I know that Yah will choose him to be a people, a nation, and a possession to himself, above all peoples that are on the face of the earth. Isaac, my son, loves Esau more than Jacob, but I see that you truly love Jacob. Add still further to your kindness to him and regard him in love, for he shall be a blessing to us on the earth from now on to all generations of the earth. Let your hands be strong. Let your heart rejoice in your son Jacob, for I have loved him far beyond all my sons. He shall be blessed forever, and his offspring shall fill the whole earth. If a man can number the sand of the earth, his offsprings also shall be numbered. And all the blessings with which Yah, or Jehovah, has blessed me and my offsprings shall belong to Jacob and his offspring always. In his offspring shall my name be blessed, and the names of my fathers, Shem, Noah, Enoch, Mahalalel, Enos, Seth, and Adam. And these shall serve to lay the foundations of the heaven and to strengthen the earth and to renew all the stars which are in the sky. He called Jacob and kissed him in front of Rebekah, his mother, and blessed him and said, Jacob, my beloved son, whom my soul loves, may Elohim bless you from above the sky, and may he give you all the blessings with which he blessed Adam, Enoch, Noah, and Shem, and all the things of which he told me, and all the things which he promised to give me, may he cause to be yours and your offspring forever, according to the days of heaven above the earth. So, fascinating chapter to me. If you are someone who is familiar with Abraham's story and also Isaac and Jacob and Esau's story in Genesis, you may have always been feeling like it was lacking. Like, give me some details here. What is going on with Rebekah, and what is going on? We're going to get to it, right? We're going to come up and talk about this wild plan they hatched. But here are some of the foundations of that plan. That Isaac wasn't seeing how Jacob needed to be the one to take Abraham's place. And that really begs the question, what place are we talking about? What place is Abraham trying to fill? This is more than just a birthright about the stew. right? This is more than just the inheritance from the father to the son. This is taking Abraham's place. This is really the priesthood. And we're going to talk all through this. And I keep saying I've been working on a standalone video on the priesthood in Genesis. It's becoming a bigger project than I thought, but to just be able to see and follow the line of men of God from Adam to Seth to Enoch to Noah to Abraham. I might have missed one or two in there, but now from Abraham. And also Isaac loved the Lord as well, but Abraham is really passing on this priesthood directly to Jacob. And priesthood is someone who ministers to God, someone who can accept sacrifices on the behalf of others, bring them before God. He is the mediator, right? He is someone who teaches on the word of God. He is someone who is really God's representative in order to do his will, and who loves him and does his commandments and teaches others to do the same, right? And so that's what we're seeing, that there is already a line of people doing this. And Abraham knows it can't be Esau. He's not fit for the office of the priesthood. This Melchizedek, different order of priesthood that's different than Levitical priesthood, different than Aaron and Moses, right? What Moses directs Aaron in. It's different than that. This is a priesthood that doesn't have a genealogy, because it's not about the firstborn. It's not about a certain line. It's about who is following the ways of God. And it really started back in the garden, right when they left the garden, right? That's when Adam became the representative to God. People couldn't live as closely to God as they could have in the garden. So now there's a representative, his own representative on earth. So just keep your eyes out when you're reading the word of God for these connections that flow right through into the New Testament about priesthood, about doing the commandments of God, about being that mediator, that the righteous man who is following the ways of the Father here on earth, and really being a minister to the people around him. So all these people live together. And if you're just reading in Genesis, you might not see that connection. That Abraham did not die before the twins were born. He lived with them and was able to teach the ways of God to these boys. And he was able to watch and see and decipher their hearts and who was going to be fit to be his replacement. So we have Abraham here, we have Jacob, we have Rachel still holding her vessel of water like she was at the well. We have Isaac, and then we have over here our Esau, who was called a man of war, and he was really not happy. And we kind of see even more of his character develop as you read through Genesis and more of Jubilees. So in Jubilees 20, we have in the 42nd Jubilee, in the first year of the 7th week, Abraham called Ishmael and his 12 sons and Isaac and his 2 sons and the 6 sons of Keturah and their sons. I implore you, my sons, love the Elohim of heaven and cling to all his commandments. So Abraham is calling together all of his sons, and in ancient language, grandsons will be called sons. Ishmael, Isaac, his grandsons, Isaac's sons, the sons of Keturah and their sons, his whole legacy. Abraham calls them and teaches them about the commandments. All of Jubilees 20 talks about what Abraham specifically said to them about keeping the laws, the ways, the instructions of the God of heaven, and how important it was. So this is what Abraham was doing, right? And then this takes us back over to Genesis 26. Now there was another famine in the land, subsequent to the one that had occurred in Abraham's time. And Isaac went to Abimelech, the king of the Philistines, at Gerar. The Lord appeared to Isaac and said, "Do not go down to Egypt. Settle in the land where I tell you. Stay in this land as a foreigner, and I will be with you and bless you. For I will give all these lands to you and your offspring, and I will confirm the oath that I have sworn to your father, Abraham. I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, and I will give them all these lands. And through your offspring, all the nations of the earth will be blessed, because Abraham listened to my voice, kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws." Isaac settled in Gerar, but when the men of that place asked about his wife, he said, "She is my sister." So before we move on, Abraham listened to my voice, kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. My charge, that's priestly language, that's appointing to be in a position. Abraham kept the ways of the Lord. He knew the ways of the Lord. Just keep that in mind as we're reading through Genesis. As we get to like the 10 Commandments and Moses receiving the tablets, this was not new information to the people of God, right? The people of God knew the ways of God because he had been teaching and instructing all along, and then they had been teaching their sons all along. And so Isaac settled in Gerar. At another point, every time there's famine, it seems that people go to Egypt. Egypt has the Nile, the Delta, the really fertile land. So it tends to be the last place really impacted by a famine. So several times we've already seen that there's a famine. Abraham went to Egypt, and God is saying to Isaac this time, there's a famine, but don't go. So Isaac settled in Gerar. But when the men of that place asked about his wife, he followed in the footsteps, apparently, of Abraham and said, "She is my sister," for he was afraid to say, "She is my wife," since he thought to himself, "The men of this place will kill me on the account of Rebekah, because she is so beautiful." When Isaac had been there a long time, Abimelech, the king of the Philistines, looked down from the window and was surprised to see Isaac caressing his wife, Rebekah. Abimelech sent for Isaac and said, "So she is really your wife? How could you say she is my sister?" Isaac replied, "Because I thought I might die on account of her." "What is this you have done to us?" asked Abimelech. "One of the people could have easily have slept with your wife, and you would have brought guilt upon us." So Abimelech warned all the people, saying, "Whoever harms this man or his wife shall surely be put to death." Now Isaac sowed seed in the land, and that very year he reaped 100-fold. And the Lord blessed him, and he became richer and richer until he was exceedingly wealthy. He owned so many flocks and herds and servants that the Philistines envied him. So the Philistines took dirt and stopped up all the wells of his father's servants had dug in the days of his father Abraham. Then Abimelech said to Isaac, "Depart from us, for you are much too powerful for us." So Isaac left that place and encamped in the valley of Gerar and settled there. And he reopened the wells that had been dug in the days of his father Abraham, which the Philistines had stopped up after Abraham died. And he gave these wells the name his father had given them. And this Abimelech is a title. So it could be the same Abimelech who interacted with Abraham, or it could be different because that's really actually a title. Then Isaac's servants dug in the valley and found a fresh, Then Isaac's servants dug in the valley and found a well of fresh water there. But the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's herdsmen and said, "That water is ours." So he named the well Etzek because they contended with him. They dug another well and quarreled over that one also. So he named it Sitnah. He moved on from there and dug another, and they did not quarrel over it. So he named it Rehoboth and said, "At last the Lord has made room for us, and we will be fruitful in the land." From there, Isaac went up to Beersheba. And that night, the Lord appeared to him and said, "I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. I will bless you and multiply your descendants for the sake of my servant Abraham." Isaac built an altar there and called on the name of the Lord. And he pitched a tent there, and his servants also dug a well there. Later, Abimelech came to Isaac from Gerar with Ahuzath, his advisor, and Pichol, the commander of his army. Why have you come to me? Isaac asked them. You hated me and sent me away. We can plainly see that the Lord has been with you, they said. We recommend that there should now be an oath between us and you. Let us make a covenant with you that you will not harm us, just as we have not harmed you, but have done only good to you, sending you away in peace. Now go, you are blessed by the Lord. So Isaac prepared a feast for them, and they ate and drank, and they got up early the next morning and swore an oath to each other. And Isaac sent them on their way, and they left him in peace. On that same day, Isaac's servants came and told him about the well they had dug. We have found water, they told him. So he called it Seba. And to this day, the name of the city is Beersheba. So that's where Beersheba gets its name. Well, remember from our helpful Hebrew videos, Be'er means well. And when Esau was 40 years old, he took as wives Judith, the daughter of Beri, the Hittite, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon, the Hittite, and they brought grief to Isaac and Rebekah. A little bit more backstory that's over in the book of Jubilees. There's a lot of talk about the boys not taking wives from the Canaanites or the other surrounding pagan nations. But Esau was pretty quick to take a couple of wives that were Hittites, and it was a problem. And Isaac and Rebekah knew it. And there's a long conversation between Rebekah and Jacob about the wife he should take. And Jacob reassures her and promises her. And then there's this beautiful blessing that Rebekah actually makes over her son Jacob. And that's what we're going to pick up here in Jubilees. Jubilees 25:14. At that hour, when the spirit of righteousness descended into her mouth, Rebekah's mouth, she placed both her hands on the head of Jacob, and she said, Blessed are you, master of righteousness, and Elohim, which is God of the ages. May you bless him beyond all the generations of men. My son, may he give you the path of righteousness and reveal righteousness to your offspring. May he make your sons many during your life, and may they arise according to the number of the months of the year. And may their sons become many and great beyond the stars of heaven, and may their number be more than the sand of the sea. May he give them this good and pleasing land, as he said he would give it to Abraham and to his offspring after him always, and may they hold it as a possession forever. My son, may I see blessed children born to you during my life, and may all your offspring be blessed and pure. And as you have refreshed your mother's spirit during her life, the womb of her that gave birth to you blesses you now. My affection and my heart blesses you, and my mouth and my tongue greatly praise you. Increase and spread over the earth. May your offspring be perfect in joy of heaven and earth forever. May your offspring rejoice, and on the great day of peace, may they have peace. May your name and your offspring endure to all the ages, and may the Most High Elohim be their Elohim, and may the Elohim of righteousness dwell with them, and may his sanctuary be built up by you all the ages. Blessed be he that blesses you, and all flesh that curses you falsely, may it be cursed. And she kissed him and said to him, May Yah of the world love you as the heart of your mother, and her affection rejoice in you and bless you. And she ceased from blessing. So I'm laughing at my graphic. I gave Rebekah some raised arms here so she could put her hands on Jacob's head. So here we have a matriarchal blessing. And really, women do get a little bit bigger center stage here in the book of Jubilees than they do in Genesis. Rebekah knew that Jacob was the one that needed to take Abraham's place. Abraham told her, Rebekah had already known. So again, all of this is laying the foundation for what's to come in Genesis. But I just thought this was a really beautiful blessing from a mother to a son, as a mom of only boys. Maybe that's why it hit home with me a little bit. Don't laugh at my graphic. Okay, Genesis 27, 1 through 10. When Isaac was old and his eyes were so weak that he could no longer see, he called his older son Esau to him and said, "My son." "Here I am," Esau replied. "Look," said Isaac, "I am now old and I do not know the day of my death. Take your weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go out into the field and hunt some game for me. Then prepare a tasty dish that I love and bring it to me to eat so that I may bless you before you die." Now Rebekah was listening to what Isaac told his son Esau. So when Esau went into the field to hunt game and bring it back, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "Behold, I overheard your father saying to your brother Esau, 'Bring me some game and prepare me a tasty dish to eat, so that I may bless you in the presence of the Lord before I die.' Now, my son, listen to my voice and do exactly what I tell you. Go out to the flock and bring me 2 choice young goats so I can make them into a tasty dish for your father, the kind he loves. Then take it to your father to eat so that he may bless you before he dies." Jacob answered his mother Rebekah, "Look, my brother Esau is a hairy man, but I am smooth skinned. What if my father touches me? Then I would be revealed to him as a deceiver, and I would bring upon myself a curse rather than a blessing." His mother replied, "Your curse be on me, my son. Just obey my voice and go get them for me." So Jacob went and got 2 goats and brought them into his mother, who made the tasty food his father loved. And Rebekah took the finest clothes in the house that belonged to her older son Esau, and she put them on the younger son Jacob. She also put the skins of the young goats on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. Then she handed her son the food and the bread she had made. So when Jacob went to his father and said, "My father, here I am," he answered, "Which one are you, my son?" Jacob said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Please sit up and eat some of my game so that you may bless me." But Isaac asked his son, "How did you ever find it so quickly, my son?" "Because the Lord your God brought it to me," he replied. All right, you can continue to laugh at my graphics, but here is Jacob dressed up as Esau with his beard and his hairy arms. And we have the older Isaac, who is knowing that his days are nearing end. His eyes have been failing him. And Rebecca's over here off in the distance, really just supervising this whole thing. And without Jubilees, if you are someone like me who has read this story, I don't know, probably 40 times in my life or more. And you just really get this picture of, wow, Rebecca is kind of a liar. And so is Jacob. And they're deceiving and they're trying to be sneaky. And really, they're following the direction of Abraham. And Abraham said, absolutely, Jacob will be the one. And so the tables are flipped a little bit. It seems like Isaac is the one who's not seeing what he needs to see in his sons. And he's about to give the blessing to Esau, to pass on the priesthood, the charge, the duty to take the commandments forward, the ways of God forward. He's about to give it to Esau. And Rebekah knew that this was wrong. So it really flips the whole story. It gives the needed backstory to it. So whatever you feel about the Book of Jubilees, I just encourage you to, as we're doing this Genesis study, to take the time to read through it, because again, there's so much there. So continuing in Genesis 27, then Isaac said to Jacob, "Please come closer so I can touch you, my son. Are you really my son Esau or not?" So Jacob came close to his father Isaac, who touched him and said, "The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau." Esau did not recognize him because his hands were hairy like those of his brother Esau. So he blessed him. Again, he asked, "Are you really my son Esau?" And he replied, "I am." "Serve me," said Isaac, "and let me eat some of my son's game so that I may bless you." Jacob brought it to him and he ate, and then he brought him wine and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, "Please come near and kiss me, my son." So he came near and kissed him. And when Isaac smelled his clothing, he blessed him and said, "Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give to you the dew of heaven and the richness of earth, an abundance of grain and new wine. May peoples serve you and nations bow down to you. May you be the master of your brothers, and may the sons of your mother bow down to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and those who bless you be blessed." It's a pretty deep blessing, right? As soon as Isaac had finished blessing him, and Jacob had left his father's presence, his brother Esau returned from the hunt. He too made some tasty food and brought it to his father and said to him, "My father, sit up and eat of your son's game so that you may bless me." But his father Isaac replied, "Who are you?" "I am Esau, your firstborn," he answered. Isaac began to tremble violently. "Who was it then who hunted game and brought it to me? Before you came in, I ate it and blessed him. And indeed, he will be blessed." When Esau heard his father's words, he let out a loud and bitter cry and said to his father, "Bless me too, O my father." But Isaac replied, "Your brother came deceitfully and took your blessing." So Esau declared, "Is he not rightly named Jacob? For he has cheated me twice. He took my birthright, and now he has taken my blessing." Then he asked, "Haven't you saved a blessing for me?" But Isaac answered Esau, "Look, I have made him your master and have given him all his relatives as servants. I have sustained him with grain and new wine. What is left that I can do for you, my son?" So it seems like a really harsh blessing, a harsh words that he has left. He doesn't call in Jacob to undo what was done. He knows it's right. He probably figures out at this point what has happened, that he was deceived, but I would think he knows that he was rightly deceived because he was the one who was making the wrong choice, or else he could have fixed it, right? He could have called Jacob back in and called him out on lying to him, or called Rebekah in, right? None of these things happened. He said, "I made the blessing that I made, and it stands." And we see some regret here in Esau, some sadness, but there has been problems in Esau's heart and his behavior throughout his lifetime. And we can't get the blessing of our Father, right? We can't get the blessing ordained by God if we're not willing to turn away from worldly behavior and not have a circumcised heart, right? If we can't circumcise our hearts and with love and humility follow in the way of our Heavenly Father, we can't then ask for a blessing later on, right? It's about walking away to walk towards the will of our Father. And He's going to meet you where you are, but it does take the turning away. And it does not look like Esau was willing to do it, right? And we see just the very next part of Esau's story, we see just how much he wasn't willing to. So Isaac called for Jacob and blessed him. "Do not take a wife from the Canaanite women," he commanded. "Go at once to Padan Aram, to the house of your mother's father, Bethuel. Take a wife from among the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. May El Shaddai bless you and make you fruitful and multiply you so that you may become a company of peoples. And may he give the blessing of Abraham to you and your descendants so that you may possess the land where you dwell as a foreigner, and the land God gave to Abraham." So Isaac sent Jacob to Padan Aram, to Laban, the son of Bethuel, the Aramean, the brother of Rebekah, who was the mother of Jacob and Esau. I think I'm realizing I said Armenian a couple of times, but it's Aramean. I apologize. In previous slides. And now Esau learned that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him to Padan Aram to take a wife there, commanding him, "Do not marry a Canaanite woman," and that Jacob had obeyed his father and mother and gone to Padan Aram. And seeing that his father Isaac disapproved of the Canaanite women, Esau went to Ishmael and married Mahalath, the sister of Nebaioth, and daughter of Abraham's son Ishmael, in addition to the wives he already had. So was this Esau trying to make better choices? Because he married Canaanites. The Hittites were Canaanites. I think I have my genealogy correct. Um, and he thinks, let me add another wife. That's not a Canaanite wife, and will this please my parents? I don't know.